A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! They win!
James catches, puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound Tosh. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
Iguodala to Curry. Back to Iguodala. Up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James! LeBron James with the rejection.
Portland has 3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant to shot.
A chance to send the Thunder home. Lillard, long range three.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the 48 Minutes Network NBA Draft Show. Tim Daniel, host of 48 Minutes with host of At Large Bid, Parker Fields. Parker, I would like to say that I'm very excited that we're doing episode 2, and this was not one of our one-offs.
Yeah. Episode 2 is here. A day late, but it's here.
Yeah. Crazy couple days being a dad. You know, there's no such thing as like time management anymore. Because I don't work in the NBA. So when you record when you can record is kind of how this goes. So yeah, man, I think last week's was a lot of fun. Got some good feedback from it. People like the insight. My ring light just fell, so we're on a roll. But I really excited that we're keeping this going and kind of ready for start this next group of guys.
Exactly. Good group of guys we have today. Interesting group of guys with some
Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So I'm interested to see what your takes are, and I'm gonna give my takes as well.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the conversation. So let's recap real quick the guys we talked about last week, and we started with Case and Wallace. We kind of went on there and said like Kentucky kind of controls their pace, their own destiny from here, and that included a very disappointing loss last night to Vanderbilt. But I think for the most part, they got back in the top 25, like you and Neil mentioned on At Large Bid, and they, had some decent games. But I thought Wallace, especially Florida, I thought he was pretty good. Auburn, I thought he played pretty well. Obviously, they, kicked the tar out of them.
Yeah.
But he had 19 points and 9 assists in that game. And last night, it was obviously a disappointing loss, and he was not very, very promising. 6 points. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, was 2 of 7 from the floor.
He left the game with an injury as well, so we're trying to see his update on if he's going to be able to play in the SEC tournament and everything like that.
So, yeah, that was a game where they were kind of leaning a lot on guys like Antonio Reeves to kind of carry the way. I know Oscar had a 20-20 double-double, but, that's for a Kentucky team that was gaining steam at the right time. That's a very frustrating loss.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they just creep back into the top 25, and to have a loss like that right when you get back in the top 25 for the first time in over a month, that sucks. That's kind of a momentum killer, and they just need to, that's a game you throw away. That's a game you throw away after how well you've been playing as of late. You just throw that one away and you move on.
For sure. Colby Jones. Wow. We said, man, he's got a lot of great opportunity coming up, and since that Villanova loss, he's been very good.
Yeah.
I know last night, obviously, surprisingly against Providence, he didn't score really, I think, for the first 8 minutes. Ended up with 29, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, was 10 of 11 from the floor, 3 of 3 from 3, 6 of 7 from the line. He played 37 minutes and did not have a turnover. So he was, him and Souley Boom were awesome last night. That's a great win for Xavier going against Providence. But if NBA teams are wondering what kind of guy Colby Jones is, he might be a like not love prospect, but I think last night was a lot to love for sure.
Yeah, no, he looked great last night against a really good Providence team. That was a big win for Xavier because, like I mentioned on our podcast yesterday with Neil, Xavier has struggled in road games versus good teams this year. They've been pretty dominant at home, but they've definitely, since their road stretch of their schedule, because of how big weird their Big East schedule was this year, where they were just home for a long time and now they're on the road for a while and everything like that. Jones has really kind of struggled, or not Jones, the Xavier team has really kind of struggled on the road this season, and that was a big time win. And Jones, I mean, even hasn't been as good as on the road as he has been at home. And this was a really impressive win and a very impressive game from him. And he might have just shot up on a few draft boards with that performance.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then from last week, just want to real quick. Jordan Hawkins did not have a great game yesterday against DePaul, albeit a UConn huge 29-point win. They didn't really need Hawkins in that game to score. But the 2 games before that, you look at St. John's, he has 20 points and 3 steals. And the game before that against Providence, he has 20 points and 6 rebounds. So his 20-point streak of literally 20 even ended after 3 games, has hit just strictly 20 points only in 4 of his last 6. So anything but consistent. But those 2 performances before, you are starting to see him kind of gain some steam and get back into that first round conversation. So I'm very, very excited about his continued ability to build.
Yeah, I think this guy has a lot of upside, honestly. I really do. I think he can end up being a really good player in the NBA, and I think he could be a steal for somebody. Maybe like if the Warriors got this guy late first round, early second round, they would be pleased with this pickup.
He's a Warriors player for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about that. Yeah, if I was doing a mock draft right now, I might draft him if the Warriors had a later first round pick, but I'm pretty sure their pick right now would be like 16 or 17, something like that. It would be right outside the lottery. Yeah, but I think this guy has really high potential. Last night, I mean, they didn't need him against DePaul. They were dominant against DePaul.
Yeah.
But he's been dominant as of late, like not even just those like 20-point games you said, the 3. He scored 20 plus, I believe, in 1, 2, 3, 4. Only, I think, like 8 out of 11. I'm not going to do the math right there, but it looks like 8 out of 11, 20 plus. That's what it looked like to me. And that's really impressive to keep up that kind of consistency, especially with a team that, is kind of like a grinded out defensive team a lot of times. To be that scorer on that team is huge for them and really impressive.
I really think they can win the title.
I
know this isn't that large bid, but I really think they can win the title, and I think he could end up winning like most outstanding player of the tournament. He's that good.
I think he's creeping into Big East Player of the Year now.
Yeah, it's gonna be really, really interesting how all that breaks down.
There's no like dominant player in the Big East. There really isn't. It's like Hopkins, Boom, and him. I feel like.
I would say those are probably the 3, and then the kid from Marquette. I always forget his name.
Tyler Kolek.
Yeah, Tyler Kolek. He's been really good too.
Yeah,
but I think those 4 you probably have to say are probably the leading candidates.
If he wins, though, it would be a Steve Nash award. It'd be a Steve Nash. Like his stats don't jump off. It's like 12 and 7 are his stats.
Or like a James Harden, where like because of Sanogo, he gets it because Sanogo's been so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today we're going to get into 3, like Parker said, really interesting prospects for this coming draft. We have one guy who has been covered as, the second coming of LeBron James, literally on the cover of Sports Illustrated when he was in high school. We have a late bloomer in his high school class who's looking at a lottery pick, and another Duke center who could be drafted literally anywhere on the board, and everything's up in the air. So let's start with Bryce Sensabaugh of Ohio State. Sensabaugh right now is kind of projected to be a lottery guy, and when you look at his shooting, that's the big thing. An crazy unbelievable scorer. I mean, yeah, crazy splits like you said. So 43% from 3 right this season. It was if he was playing at the NBA level for the NBA line, they said he'd be shooting 38% from 3 on a 35% usage rate, which obviously he won't have that usage rate in the league.
Also, you got to think though, he'd be getting way better looks in the league than he is in college. The spacing isn't there as much in college.
Yeah, and so like I was gonna come on here and talk about like I'm really concerned about his athleticism, and I still am. But then last week he had this like crazy insane dunk that I was like, I did not see that coming. Last night came off the bench against Maryland. I can't believe Ohio State won that game. Off the bench, 12 points and 7 rebounds. He was 4 of 11 shooting, 0 of 4 from 3, which is kind of his bread and butter. But Sensabaugh is a unique situation because, as far as at the NBA level, you put him in the corner as like a, catch and shoot kind of guy. He's probably great in that role. Is he a guy that can make his own space as far as on a dribble handoff? I don't think so. But if you look at the games where he's played really well, it's always against the better competition. So Indiana, he was really good in that game. I know they lost by a lot. Just yesterday, Maryland's a really good basketball team and they win by 11. And even though he wasn't doing his best shooting wise, he still kind of helped out a lot there. But I worry about his athleticism. if you're looking for a guy who's going to go out there and give you like 20 points and 6 assists, this probably is not your guy. But the scoring, the scoring is always going to stand out. And I think if you can shoot at the level he can shoot, you'll have a job in the NBA.
Yeah, I agree with you. This guy is an absolute elite shooter. I mean, he's doing this, averaging 16.4 points per game, barely playing over half the game in minutes, barely playing over half the game, 24 minutes per game on the season, which what are you doing, Ohio State? Why does he not play that much? I really don't get that. He's your best player by far, and he doesn't play that many minutes, and
Your
makes
team's not very
absolutely
good.
no sense. Your team's horrible. Like, you've lost – how many did they lose in a row before last night? It was like 9. It was something crazy.
Quite a bit.
It was something crazy, and, like, he's obviously your best player, and they don't play him enough minutes. But, like, you take a look at this guy's shooting splits on the road, which is important here because that shows, like, he can play in tough environments and stuff like that. 44% from 3 on the season on the road. Much better as a player on the road efficiency-wise from 3. 38.7 at home. 17.3 points per game on the road. He's been to 15.6 at home. But then you take a look at 0.3 blocks, 0.6 steals. Not a very active defender with, numbers like that. I mean, if you're a guard and you're averaging less than 1 steal a game, you're not very active on the defensive end. Let's just put it like, I don't think steals and blocks are be all end all by any means, but if you're a guard at that guard position, you should be able to get a steal a game or at least close to a steal game. And he's only getting about 0.5 steals a game, which is a little bit of a problem there defensively. He's just not very active and not very doing much as a facilitator either, only averaging 1.1 assists per game on the season. So really needs to improve his facilitating. Definitely needs to improve that. Definitely needs to improve his all-around game. But as a spot-up shooter, I think he could play in the NBA right now and be JJ Redick. Like, seriously. Yeah. But do I think he can develop into something more to be determined? I don't know.
Yeah. So to answer your question, they had lost 9 in a row before they beat Illinois and Maryland in back-to-back games, which is so funny because, they have Michigan State coming up on Saturday for their last regular season game. That's a noon tip. But yeah, I think that, you talk about, like, is he a JJ Redick, Kyle Korver kind of guy? I think he certainly has that potential. Is he a guy who can go win the 3-point contest? Probably.
Maybe a Kevin Huerter.
Kevin Huerter, yeah, he could be a Kevin Huerter.
Don't put up 8 though, like Kevin Huerter in the 3-point contest.
I think he kind of fits that mold for sure of those guys. I think that you can attest to this as a fan of the team. If I'm the Lakers and I still have that pick, well, I guess they're going to have that pick because they can't trade it this year because the pick swap in New Orleans. If he's there when I have my selection, I want him. I want him on my team. I think that with what they did to improve their shooting at the trade deadline, you add him to the team as well. I think that's a really, really good dynamic for them. I think he'd be a perfect player for what the Lakers are trying to build.
For sure. I do as well. The Lakers would die for a guy like that. Like, he could be another Malik Beasley. You can't ever have too many shooters on your team by any means. And, I think he could develop into a better athlete for sure. Like, once he gets in the weight room of the NBA training and everything like that, I think he definitely could develop into more of an athlete. But he's NBA ready shooting right now, and there's no doubts about that. And he could definitely help out a team strictly for that. The question really is just, like, is he worth a high lottery pick if he's going to develop into more than just a JJ? JJ Redick had a hell of a career, but his best years were when he was in his mid-30s.
Right.
His best years were once the NBA changed and everything like that. So maybe Sensabaugh, the NBA is already in this 3-point shooting wave. Maybe Sensabaugh is a little more valuable than Redick was early on in his career.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in this draft, he's for sure a lottery pick.
Mm-hmm.
Next year, probably not. The year before that, probably not.
Yeah,
probably
this draft isn't very deep.
Right. There's such a after the Thompson twins, and I love Jarius Walker, and I know we're going to talk about him pretty soon. I love Grady Dick, but I don't think Bryce is too far behind those guys, and they're going on a lot of mock drafts like in that top 5, top 7, and he's going like between 12 and 14. So I'm with you. I like him. I think that his shooting ability is there. I do agree with you about the athleticism. You're seeing flashes of it, like I mentioned that dunk he had in the not Maryland game. Who was the game before that?
Illinois.
Illinois, yes, thank you. The dunk he had in the Illinois game was very, very impressive. And he's a good rebounder. Like you said, he's not an active defender, but he does hit the boards. So I'm curious to see how things play out for him, because obviously, their only chance of playing in the postseason is winning the Big East tournament. I mean, the Big Ten tournament. And that's a very, very uphill battle. So we'll see how that goes for him. So talk about another guy who's been a team who's been really just like really disappointing this year. Has been a really kind of a letdown for their squad. And that's Duke center freshman Kyle Filipkowski, the 6'11", 220, which first off, 6'11", 220 in the NBA, you're going to get eaten alive.
Yeah.
There are things about him I love, and there are things about him that scare the legitimate heck out of me as a player in the next level. I'm going to start with, some things that really jump out for me is as a shot creator and a passer, I really like him. I think that he really has he really does a great job setting his teammates up. He is kind of the focus of Duke. So, he's the guy everyone's like planning for in the scouting report. I think those things are going to really kind of translate well, but he's a shot creator, but he's not much of a shooter as he's shown this year. And that's really frustrating. I don't know much about his lack of quickness and athleticism. I don't know where his athleticism is going to come from at the NBA level, but could he be a guy who can like crash the boards? Sure. But he's not a rim protector.
No.
He's not necessarily someone who's going to go out there and get you 4 or 5 blocks in a game. Like, you're not getting Evan Mobley here by any means.
No.
But I do think his offensive ability as far as everything is going to be something where he could be a really good role player for a team. I will say right now he's projecting that like outside the lottery first round. I would not be shocked if he dropped in the second round.
I would not be shocked either, because call me crazy, he just scares me as a bust, like bad. He just really scares me. Just gut feeling right there. He gives me Dragon Bender vibes sometimes, like when I watch him play. Like, I don't know, just
good comp.
Big white guy shooter, but can't really shoot, but he's supposed to be a shooter. But Filipkowski, the thing that scares me too is even though he's like Duke's like leading scorer and stuff, and like he's supposed to be their number one option, they don't play him all the time in crunch time. They take him out of games, close games, like 3-4 minutes left, and it's like your coaches don't trust you, and you're supposed to be the best player. I don't know. That scares me a little bit, because that's kind of like what the. But just based off his game, it's just consistency with him. He like will look dominant sometimes. Like I was watching the Louisville game when the NBA wasn't on. That was the only game that day that was big. He was playing Louisville, and he looked really amazing for like a 3-minute stretch and had like 7 points, grabbed a few boards, blocked a shot in literally like a 2 to 3 minute stretch. And he didn't really do anything the rest of the game. Like he put up almost all of his stats in a 2 to 3 minute stretch. And it's just stuff like that. Like he's just really inconsistent, and he's not always assertive. Like he's super aggressive for a few minutes, and then he just like won't shoot for 10 minutes of a game. And like, you can't do that if you're the guy on your team. You can't be doing that.
When I saw in the PK85, and this is no disrespect to my guy, Jack Nungy. I love Jack Nungy. When I saw Jack Nungy handling him defensively.
Yeah, no, Jack Nungy can't guard people.
But he guarded Filipkowski. He
Yeah.
Held him to like 4 of 10 shooting, which, from the floor as a big who gets the ball in the block.
Is he a center in the NBA, Filipkowski?
No.
That's what I'm saying. No. So like, what is he? I don't think he could play 4 because he can't guard a NBA 4. My question is defensively. Who's he guarding? Is my question defensively.
I agree with you.
He can guard rim roll centers, but he can't guard Embiid. Imagine him versus Joel Embiid or Jokic.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Even DeAndre Ayton.
No, any like low post threat big man, he can't guard. He could guard like Nick Claxton, like
maybe Vooch.
Yeah, I don't know. Vooch might destroy him on the block.
Yeah, I don't know.
When Vooch just tries to shoot threes, yeah.
Yeah, believe me, I know all about that. The thing is, but like you said, like I think all your fears make a ton of sense. It's, I don't know why. I know this is a weaker draft, like we just talked about with Sensabaugh, where that could be a benefit for him. But if you look at like their bigger games on their schedule, he hasn't really shown up for a lot of them. So
no,
you look at UNC, he's 4 of 14 from the field that game. You look at, like we just mentioned, Xavier does not play very well in that game, the PK 85. Virginia does not score in that game. So there is a lot where I kind of scratch my head on him. And I'm not saying this as an anti-Duke guy. I'm saying this as someone who watches the league on a consistent basis like we do. There's just so much about him where, like I said, I love his ability to pass. I think that, like, could he play like a Kevon Looney role, be a lower extent Kevon Looney for some team? Maybe.
That's what we're hoping for, though. Is my question. A Kevon
Looney, right? I'm with you.
Yeah,
but like, there's just a lot to be like where I'm kind of just shaking my head on him because I don't know where he fits, and like you mentioned, he fits the Duke breed of centers, right?
Yeah.
I guess not really, because Mark Williams has been good. He just plays on a really bad basketball team.
Yeah, Plumlee's been pretty solid in the NBA.
He has,
He wasn't supposed to be a star, so Plumlee's carved out a nice career. I will say this about him though. There's like flashes. I got his highlights up right now, just like to look at, because I wanted to see some of, like, his flashes though are like really good. Like when some of the plays he makes, you're like, yeah, that's a top 10 pick.
Right.
like the way he moves, I will say his mobility for his size is extremely impressive. He reminds me not on basketball skill whatsoever. Based off build and athleticism, he reminds me of a young Kristaps Porzingis off of how he moves. He's smaller a little bit. He's 6'11", 7 foot. He's listed 7 foot on ESPN, but 6'11", 7 foot. Porzingis is 7'3", but his movement and stuff reminds me of Porzingis when Porzingis was slimmer and stuff. Porzingis is a little beefier and bulked up now, so he's not as quick as he once was when he was early New York days. But that's kind of what he reminds me of, like his flashes, like when he's moving and stuff up and down the floor.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. I just don't know if I'm a GM, if I'm like in that 18, 19 gotta hit range.
Mm-hmm.
Am I taking Kyle Filipkowski to add to my bench, especially if you're Golden State, where your last 4 or 5 draft picks have not been contributors to your team?
No. Baldwin isn't looking great.
Moses Moody doesn't look like he's playable. I think Kuminga's
been all right. He's been all right.
Yeah, I think he's plenty good. I think he could be a really good NBA player. I don't know if he's in the right situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kuminga might be averaging 20 right now if he was drafted by the Pistons. Or
the Wizards,
I think maybe not the Wizards. Everybody turns out to be horrible once you're drafted by the Wizards, besides Bradley Beal and John Wall. You turn up horrible.
I mean, even, you look at James Wiseman with the Pistons getting more opportunity to play and stuff. Like,
he hit 23 the other night.
Yeah, he doesn't look too bad. He's not rebounding still the way I would like for him to, but
yeah.
If you're Golden State, do you take a chance on him? I don't know. If you're Miami, another team who's so good at drafting and developing players, do you take a chance on him? Especially when you already have Nikola Jovic there. I don't know. I don't think if you're the Pacers, you want him by any means.
I think, do the Spurs have anybody's pick? If I'm the Spurs and I got a 20-something pick, take him. I would take him. I think he does have a lot of potential if he hit his potential. But I think there's a lot of bust vibes as well. It's just, it's a little bit of both.
So right now, Tankathon has him as the 19th pick to the Warriors. I don't know about that.
I see the play style, but not he's a project, I think. I think he's a couple years from contributing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree. All right, so here's kind of one of the biggest hot buttons in the draft, and that is Emoni Bates of Eastern Michigan, formerly of Memphis. Literally has been dubbed the next Kevin Durant in high school. Was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in high school. Reclassified to go to Memphis a year early, and had an okay year. Was very up and down. Didn't play a whole lot. Only played 18 games. Which was very frustrating.
He was 17 years old, though, in his defense, just a little bit.
Sure, absolutely.
He was a kid last year.
He's still a kid. He's still a kid.
18, right?
Yeah. And it sucked that Jalen Duren looked so good as a reclassification, and he didn't. And I think that really kind of shocked people. But this year at Eastern Michigan, where he's gotten to take every shot he possibly can, He has taken full advantage of that. So he's averaging 16 shots a game. He's only shooting 41% from the floor. You talked about a little bit for a second last week about how you just hate his shot selection, and I am
It's
right
horrible.
there with. But he's a guy that, like, if he does get to spots and he does like light it up and he's feeling it, there's nights where he is awesome. There's nights where he is
There's
incredible.
nights he drops 40 in that league.
Yeah,
In
for
the
sure.
MAC. It's the MAC, right? Eastern
Yeah,
Michigan.
he's in the MAC. Yeah. Ryan Lester, who works with us, went and shot the game when they played Miami, Ohio up there, and he wasn't very, very good that game. He was awesome.
5 of 18.
The game before that, I think, was his like 49-point game.
Yeah, 43.
So I asked the scout, I was like, okay, right now, 2 years into college, what do you think of Emoni Bates? And he said, he is a street ball player. He is a strictly goes off of athleticism. I can't see any situation. Let me look up this. I'm not going to name who the scout was, but I will go through here. So this is what he said about Emoni Bates. He's a street ball player. He's improved this season, but can he play in structure? How much better would a team be if he was on it? He played in the worst conference and they were in last place. He didn't contribute to wins in a conference that he should have carried his team. There's no way he's a first rounder, is what he said.
I don't know if I might take him in late first round just because there's a shot he ends up being a superstar in the NBA. There is a planet where that happens.
So right now the Pacers have that Celtics first round pick, which is the late 20s.
I would take him with the Pacers, if I was the Pacers.
It'd be fun.
Structured. You already have Matherin's a proven. You got Tyrese Halliburton. You got some good structured young guys that are proven. You can take a fly in the wall. Plus, you have your first round pick that you can.
And we're around Fort Wayne plenty. We know they do a great job setting guys down there to develop and contribute to the team. So that's a situation where he might be able to do that for a few games here and there. But at the end of the day, if you're drafting Emoni Bates, you're drafting him strictly for his ability to shoot and how young he is to see if you can develop him as a star. Because
and he's 6'10" with a handle.
Yeah, for sure. He is only 19. He's going to be 19 at the draft. So I don't know. He's going to be the kind of the Bol Bol of this year's draft, right? Where you watch the second round to see if he where he drops, where he goes to. There are certainly things about him where I think he could be a really good NBA player as far as like you said, the athleticism, the ability to kind of change games, but I don't see him as much of a teammate. I don't see him as much of a team player.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing him running a system. I don't know. I have a hard time just seeing that happening. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but it's tough to see right now.
I don't see it. I'm trying to think, let me look at his Memphis numbers from last year because
they're rough.
I knew they were rough, but there were games like the Cincinnati game last year when they were there. He played really, really well. And look, he was on a good team. Josh Minot, Jalen Duren, they were drafted. They didn't play great all the time, but they took Gonzaga to the wire. And
they should have beat Gonzaga.
Yeah, they had him beat.
That.
Yeah, they for sure had him beat. You're right. But I don't know, man. I think with him, there's just
I will
many
say last year
questions.
though, I don't think Penny used him right though too. He tried to play him at point guard, if you remember. He tried to run Bates at point guard. You remember that?
Yeah, he didn't play in the tournament.
Yeah, he did. He played 12 minutes.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong year. Duh, Tim.
He hadn't played in 2 months, and then he came back for the tournament.
That's right, because he played 3 minutes in the Boise State game.
Yeah.
So that was probably when it was a blowout.
And then 5 points, 12 minutes in the Gonzaga game.
Yeah, Duren was awesome in that game. He was
dominated
so good.
Chet. He dominated Chet.
Yeah, he did. I'm very high on Jalen Duren. I have not been secret about it. So
I am too. If they get some of those centers out, they have 6 centers. How are you liking that though? Duren and James Wiseman?
It's kind of fun.
Think about this though. Of the last 5 high school classes,
yeah,
they have the top center every year of those high school classes.
Duran.
Bagley was the number one player in his class. Wiseman was the
Yep.
number one player in his class. Duran was the number was the number one player in his class when things ended before he reclassed. Because
Yeah.
he overtook Bates as the number one player, I remember.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
then Stewart was like the third player in his class. I remember.
And then, of course, Jaden Ivey was top 10.
Cade was the number one player.
Yeah.
God, they were all the number one player in their class.
That's the all 24/7 sports team.
Yeah, literally.
But I like the Wiseman-Duran pairing. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it could be a really fun, like, if they just put those two together and,
Yeah.
like, had Cade and Ivey just do whatever the hell they want scoring-wise.
Wiseman's got a jumper, too. I know he hasn't really
does.
shown it in the NBA, but he could shoot the ball in high school. He could shoot it in college before he got suspended.
I just
But he
hate
did
that,
have a
like,
jumper.
I feel like the rim running has gone away with him. And I think
Yeah.
that's where, like, that was kind of his bread and butter in high school. So I would like to see that come back for sure. But so you'd say if you're like the Pacers or you're like one of these teams that has multiple first round picks,
Yeah,
you
if I
would
have
take him at the end of the
multiple, yeah.
first.
I would. What about you?
I would definitely think about it. I don't know if I'd pull the trigger. But I would love to see him in like a situation where, in the second round, he goes to like Orlando and goes and plays all those young dudes, and they're just like young kids trying to have fun and figure it out. If I'm the Lakers and he drops to me at 41, I'm probably taking him.
Yeah.
So
You think he'll end up being a first or second rounder?
I think it's a second rounder, unless he just has like an unbelievable combine, where he like shows that he can shoot and he shows that he can like run a system, like you said, like Emoni Bates as a pick and roll ball handler should be incredible.
Or Eastern Michigan goes crazy, goes on a run. Amani averages 40 in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. The MAC's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a really fun mid-major tournament. I gotta go work a mid-major tournament tonight. I'm not excited about it at all. So yeah, I think they're gonna be really interesting here. I know we haven't, and we kind of talked about when we put this idea together about a few different guys that we probably just weren't gonna spend a lot of time on strictly because of how high they were rated. And one of those was Scoot Henderson. But I do want to touch on Scoot Henderson real quick. Not going a full scouting report by any means.
A linebacker.
Dude, he is Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
He is super athletic. He can grab the ball and go coast to coast, no problem. But I am super worried about his ability to shoot.
Yeah, no, his jump shot doesn't look pretty when he shoots.
No, like I thought he the G League team played in the Jordan Rising Stars Challenge at the All-Star game.
Mm-hmm.
And he has some good flashes there, but man, he just the shooting is like this weird mystery with him where he's from the breed of Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose, and I got some worries about that for him at the next level.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, I think if you're taking a number 2 pick and you tell them they can turn out to be Russell Westbrook's career,
That's true.
That's
Absolutely.
my thing. So, like, if he's not the best shooter and he can still become Derrick Rose or Russell Westbrook, I don't think anybody's going to be upset with that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Being a top 75 player ever.
Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. I'm really curious to see, how much he works on that. He said something in an interview where he really loves Russell Westbrook's ability to have a pull-up jumper, and I went, "Oh no, that's not good."
Russ had like a year or two where he was decent on the mid-range.
But like literally, like you said, in a per 36 minutes, 22 points, 8 rebounds. Eight rebounds, 6 assists guy. You take that for sure.
Yeah,
So,
and by the time he's in the NBA and starts working out with Russell Westbrook, he's going to be averaging 25, 14, and 13.
dude, his statistic, his like scouting report is 1,000% Westbrook. No defense, turns the ball over too much, can't shoot free throws. But it's unbelievable.
Motor, loves basketball.
Unbelievable on the boards.
We'll do
the open man. Yeah.
We'll do anything to get better. Like, loves basketball, always working, and just aggressive as hell.
Yeah, he's 1,000% worth the gamble. 1,000%.
Yeah, because if he at worst, like if you told me at worst he became Russell Westbrook, like who the hell would be upset about that for like his Westbrook's prime? I mean, I know he's kind of terrible right now, and but people forget kind of this guy was a top 5 to 10 player for a little bit in the league, top 10 for a long time.
So I'm gonna do the thing on Take-a-thon real quick, where I simulate the lottery
Mm-hmm.
and see who gets what, and we'll see how it goes. The Pacers at the first pick jump up 5 spots to get Victor Wembanyama, and Scoot Henderson goes to the Charlotte Hornets.
Oh,
Could you imagine a Scoot Henderson LaMelo Ball?
God,
that actually might be great for Scoot, because then if he like just starts to be like a cutter.
Yeah, LaMelo likes to pass.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I love it. Charlotte's terrible. They're really bad.
But LaMelo needs a co-star, so
I would absolutely love the idea of Wembanyama. This like this big
LaMelo
guy who like has lived in Paris his whole life and like is just like had this wonderful like French life, and it's like, welcome to Indiana.
Oh, to Indiana. Imagine Tyrese Halliburton diming that guy up though.
Oh, dude, they'd be a contender like in a year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I'm just scared about him. I'm scared about Wembanyama just because like the hype is so insane. I'm scared if he's just like, no, not even that. I'm just scared that like if he's not as good as advertised, he's still good, but like not good as advertised, that kid's just gonna get killed, like ridiculed all the time, and I just feel.
I think my only fear with him as far as a player is I just don't think he can offensive rebound. I just feel like, like that's where I'm going to be always concerned about him. But, you know, and the obvious like big men that are that size having a foot injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is so weird though, because this is the first year this draft class they're younger than me, the freshmen.
Welcome.
First time I'm older than right now. I'm the same age as like Paolo and them, but I'm gonna be older than the draft class coming in this year. It's weird.
Yeah. All right. Any guys in mind you want to talk so we can preview for next to tell the people we're gonna talk about next week?
You know who I wanted to do one on? Really? Because I just want to know. I just want to like do a deep dive on it. I want to do Drew Timme.
Okay.
Like as the second rounder.
I'm down.
Yeah, because like he's just had such a great college career and stuff. Let's like talk if we think he can ever do anything in the NBA. Like seriously.
Yeah.
He's had such a great college career. So
all right, we'll do Drew Timme. You know I want to talk about my guy, Cam Whitmore.
Yeah.
Love me some Cam Whitmore. Can't believe he's dropping out of the top 10 in places right now, because even if Villanova's been bad, he is a machine.
Mm-hmm.
So Drew Timme,
you texted
Cam
me
Whitmore.
before the season. You thought he was going to be a top 3 pick.
And then I saw Amen Thompson play and went, okay, I'll take that back. All right, so we need a mid first rounder. How about Maxwell Lewis?
All right, that's
Pepperdine. Yeah, good player. So next week is going to be Cam Whitmore, Maxwell Lewis, and Drew Timme. So if you want to get your perspective on them, we should be back to our regular Wednesday, barring anything going on. But this is going to wrap up episode 2 of the 48 Minutes NBA Draft Show. Parker, always appreciate it, and we'll be back next week.
Fun. See you guys then.